as I'm recording or as I'm going today, I'm going to be lecturing for a little while. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. I have a short video that we're going to watch today, and then talk about a little bit. Um, but to start things off, I thought maybe we could have a little conversation. And does anybody have an idea of when the first sports were ever played? Anybody want to take a guess? What do we think? Like, uh, did it go all the way back to the cavemen?
To like Roman times or like Greek times.
Well, that's one account of sports. Um, I think that anyone else want to take a shot, because that's a good point. That's where a lot of organized sports have been claimed to be started. Um, Anybody else like to take a stab or agree with James? All right, I'll jump in then. So you're partially right, James, but that's again that's one perspective of history. You know what I mean? Uh, and so we're going to watch a little bit about the Romans today in a video. But I think you could argue, and I think any society would argue, that the earliest accounts of life had forms of competition, whether it was hunting, whether it was fighting, whether it was foot races. And so I kind of think that it's just in us, and so I've done lots of reading over the years about, you know, they find a ball, like that from a, way back. So who knows exactly when they started, but uh, the Greeks were going full speed and we're gonna, like I said, I'm not going to talk much about that because there's a really good video I'm going to show you guys about it. But at the same time, in other continents, um, there is record of sports, okay, and they're not always talked about. For example, does anybody who wants to take a guess where baseball, the first forms of baseball, were discovered? And this is like before the Romans were doing the Olympiads. Anybody want to take a wild guess? All right. Yeah, all right. I'll jump in again. Okay. So I'll tell you what it was called, and then you guys tell me if you could figure out where it's from. And I'm gonna butcher this, I guarantee it. Takert el Mahag. You're not gonna know what that means. You guys are trying to sound it out like we're on Jeopardy. Okay. No, that's in Africa. Okay, and so we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So at the same time, and even way before the Greeks, sports were going on. Native Americans had their version of sports going on. There were sports going on in Africa and all continents of the world and all civilizations. So, in my opinion, based on what I've read, sports have been around since the existence of since the existence of humans, because survival was probably the first skills that most humans had to learn. And if there's if there's five people and you kill one animal, well, maybe only four people are eaten. And just the competition could be as simple as that, and to a point where then people are going to practice hunting skills, people are going to practice fighting skills and wrestling skills so that they could, so it goes way, way, way back. And um, and it's deep. And so when you look at the history of sports, there's lots of different versions of that history, just like there's lots of different versions of all history, because history is written by somebody that has perspective, like we already talked about. So it's good to look at everything you can. And so we're gonna watch a short video about the Romans here, and I'm gonna See if I can share my screen and pull this off. Let's see. The Greeks. Okay. So I'm going to go to